Michael. Thank you. So much praise. I wish you could visit our household more often. So much praise. One doesn't hear that every day. Great. Look, what to expect today? We will do three things, three parts of the lecture, and then we will leave some space for Q&As. The first one is that the best way to understand the world we live in is to take a look at a case study. It is a case study which is based on what we experienced when supporting a client of ours, a pharmaceutical company, and we adjusted it actually. Of course, we're not explicitly mentioning the name of the client, but we adjusted it and we have gamified it. And I'll just go through some of the features and I'll go through some of the challenges of the case study, right? This will help us understand the world that surrounds us. And then we're going to deep dive into how this can be conceptualized. What is the concept of the world? Why there was VUCA at the beginning and why VUCA is not sufficient anymore, and why the concept now is BANI and what it stands for. And then the third part is the one that I'd like to dedicate most time to, because that's basically how to behave and work in this world. It's going to be an introduction because we trained this for days. The training takes days, so this is going to be a very quick introduction, but I'll also be recommending some podcasts and some literature to take a look at if you are interested in more details. So this is how we work, and let's start with part one. We have a client. It's a pharmaceutical company, and within a very short period of time, quite recently, they had gone through 5 very surprising events that they needed to react to, and they were caught totally by surprise. They didn't expect them, and they had difficulties to react to them. The issue is that it wasn't only 5 unexpected steps, but it was also steps that would not happen in the world as we knew it from the past, and it was also steps which happened abruptly, and the speed of the occurrence of the other steps was actually limited, right? So it's a pharmaceutical company that manufactures due to cost pressure in Taiwan and China, right? It has embraced fully AI for research and development because of cost pressure and because of the strive to gain competitiveness. Its supply chains are totally outsourced, and they have recently become fascinated with the Chinese AI engine DeepSeek because, again, in terms of costs, it's very, very efficient. So this company was happily living and happily selling and developing its drugs. And the first thing that happened was that, one day they got a phone call from the key manufacturer in Taiwan. And the manufacturer said, look, I'm sorry, it's not our fault, but we ran out of semiconductors, so we will not be able to deliver on time. Great shock. Now, of course, this is something that the company was not used to before. There was always a big abundance of semiconductors, so that was the usual answer to say, well, then buy them somewhere else. Well, they're not available. They're not available. The waiting times are 90 days. They're not available. Oh, well, what are we going to do? Before they took the final decision, they discovered that the US imposed tariffs on imported drugs. Basically, and if you import the stuff from Taiwan to the US, then basically you're not competitive anymore, and they have seen their stocks plunging. So they had 2 problems immediately. Also, 2 problems that they didn't expect, and 2 problems that they would not know from the world before. Before they took the decision on what to do and how to divert production, vis-a-vis the tariff hike, what happened was that they had serious considerations about a Chinese competitor getting access to the AI engine. As you know, DeepSeek works in a cloud, and nobody knows where the cloud is physically, where the computing power is physically sitting, right? So obviously that would lead to the fact that drug discovery models were stolen, and the Chinese competitor could be using them. There was a great threat that the Chinese competitor could be using them for cheaper alternatives. So 3 things at once, right? And they were just struggling how to approach them, how to communicate them, etc. What happened then a week later was that, and this was unfortunately exaggerated by a viral video on TikTok, again, probably somehow induced by a competitor, this time on the US market, that one of the drugs has a minor side effect. It may cause a brain fog. I mean, brain fog is not a minor side effect, but it may cause in certain cases, with a combination of other drugs, brain fog. So this is the fourth challenge at within a very short period of time. And obviously they have seen on the US market, which is one of the main markets for exports, a pretty big surge in public distrust in pharma. So 5 challenges all of a sudden in the world that we knew before, you would be spending weeks and months to tackle one of the challenges, and all of a sudden within a very limited period of time, you had 5 at once, right? So based on this, I would like to ask you to grab your phones and scan this code. There's a question on Slido, and I would like you to take some thoughts on how you would describe this very world of today, and today means 2025, right? This very world of today based on the case study. Just grab your phones and use your camera to scan the code. You should be seeing a question on Slido. You see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm switching to Slido now. Here it is. Just give me ideas, or give us ideas. Unpredictable, uncertain. Overhyped, undoubtedly. I agree with all of them. Ever-changing, yes, yes, yes. Chaotic. That's a very good expression, yeah. Vulnerable, yes, definitely. Upside down, yeah. Fast-paced, uncertain, unloyal, untrustworthy, complex, fast-changing. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, thank you for this. Thank you for this. Let's go back now, because when I asked AI to give me, based on the case study that we play, to give me a picture describing the world that is present in the case study, so the world that surrounds us, then AI has created those 2 pictures. I think they're quite good, aren't they? Right? So we're puzzled, we are confused, and the fact is, the reason why we're puzzled and confused is that our ancestors, and to a certain extent us as well, we were used to this world. It was a world. This is the magnificent movie from 1936, Modern Times, starring Charlie Chaplin. He was the film director as well and the main actor. A world that had structures, that had rules, that there was certain order, certain reliance on key principles, etc. And take a look at this short video.
Section 5, give it a limit.
It was not an easy world, but you were given instructions. That was seen at the beginning. You were given very clear instructions. Do this and this. There was some hierarchy, there was clarity, and you knew what to do, right? It was not perhaps the most amazing job that you would choose, but you knew what to do. Our world, the one that we have just seen also in the case study, resembles more another movie from 2001. So it's a movie which is 24 years old. And I'll show you the trailer and just watch. You may know it. It's a film called Minority Report with Tom Cruise. And just notice the things that 24 years ago were science fiction, and today they surround us and we use them, right?
Okay, Jan, what's coming?
Double homicide, 1 male, 1 female. Killer's male, white, 40s.
Set up a perimeter and tell them we're en route.
I'm placing you under arrest for the future murder of Sarah Marks.
Give the man his hat.
The future can be seen.
All we have to run on are the images that they produce.
We see what they see.
There hasn't been a murder in 6 years. There's nothing wrong with the system. It is perfect. I agree.
Murder can be stopped.
Tell me exactly what it is you're looking for.
Flaws. You ever get any false positives? We are arresting individuals who have broken no law.
But they will.
The fact that you prevented it from happening doesn't change the fact that it was going to happen.
The system can't be wrong.
You say something, Chief?
No.
You're in a lot of trouble, John. I have a warrant in my pocket that says murder.
Don't run.
You don't have to chase me.
From 20th Century Fox
He set me up. He set me up.
and DreamWorks Pictures.
Who's the victim? I've never heard of him, but I'm supposed to kill him in less than 36 hours.
He's gonna get her.
Tom Cruise
I need your help. If you contain information, I need to know how to get at it.
in a Steven Spielberg film.
I have to know. I have to find out what happened in my life. You tell me, who was it that set this up?
I don't know.
How about now?
On June 21st, everybody runs.
Valentine!
Minority Report.
So what was there basically that strikes our attention and captures our thoughts? It's a film which is 24 years old and predicted AI. Future can be seen. People got arrested 10 seconds before they committed murder, and they got arrested for that because the system simply was perfect and knew what would happen. That's artificial intelligence. You have seen self-driving cars. You have seen touch screens. The first touch screen was Apple. On mass scale in 2007. So this was 6 years before Apple. So this shows our world totally out of control, totally unpredictable. And another wonderful feature of it is that there's a study by Microsoft that says that 65%, roughly 2/3 of kids today will work in jobs that don't exist yet. And my favorite one, when you take a look at the right-hand side, is a 3D printed chef. So you go to a restaurant with your important other, and all of a sudden, the food is not going to be cooked, but it's going to be printed, right? AI ethicist, a commercial space pilot, personal data broker, etc. Jobs that do not exist yet. Now, since many years, the mankind has tried, and we're now entering part 2 of the lecture. The mankind has tried somehow to describe the world we live in. And you're most probably familiar with the concept of VUCA: volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. This was created in 1989 by US military college. Giants like Harry Kissinger participated in the creation of the model. It was describing the world of the end of the Cold War, the globalization, the collapse of the Soviet Union, the internet, and it was pretty well describing the world until the 2010s. Until the 2010s. What happened then? What changed it? There were first signs. Usually it's not the first crack, but there are small cracks that lead then to a bigger crack that simply makes the model of VUCA rather obsolete. And the first cracks were digitization, social networks, climate change came later. What definitely brought it into an obsolete state were geopolitical shifts and COVID. COVID has seen that VUCA, not that the world would not be uncertain and volatile and complex, it is, But it's as if we said that what characterizes the world of today is that we live in stone buildings. Of course we do, but it probably doesn't capture the world of today that precisely. Or if we said it's the world of automobiles, of course we use automobiles, but it doesn't probably describe and capture the intricacies and delicacies of the world of today, right? So VUCA, due to these phenomena, and definitely after COVID, simply became obsolete. And the new model is called BANI. BANI stands for brittle, anxious, non-linear, and incomprehensible. And I'll be describing it very soon. I need to mention the futurist who came up with this concept shortly after COVID. His name is Jamais Casco, and he is just about to publish a book within a month called Navigating the Age of Chaos. And I like the undertitle because it's called A Sense-Making Guide to a World That Doesn't Make Sense. So I think it captures pretty well what the book is about and what the BANI concept is about. Now let's spend some time on the BANI, on the 4 letters, before we go to recommendations on how to strive and live and be successful in this world, right? Brittle does not mean fragile. Chinese vase is fragile, but it was fragile even at the very moment when it was manufactured. Brittle is something different. Brittle means that systems look very strong and very robust, but then something happens, and within a very, very short period of time, the systems collapse or are brought to a verge of collapsing, right? Robust systems. So brittle does not mean fragile. Examples would be the energy crisis of 2021. What actually happened was that after the Russian attack on the Ukraine, after the aggression on the Ukraine, the energy market basically stopped working because people stopped trading, because the manufacturers did not believe that they would get paid the huge sums of money, and the people who were usually procuring did not believe that the energy would be actually delivered. So something that we relied on for years and decades simply stopped working, or almost stopped working all of a sudden. Another wonderful example is COVID. Things that, the health system was almost brought to a collapse. Another wonderful example is CrowdStrike. You remember most probably last year in the summer, I don't recall the exact date, but what happened was that the overwhelming majority of European and US airports were simply out of order because CrowdStrike was the software that was not working, and planes could not fly. So there were huge queues of people waiting for baggage or not being able to fly. CrowdStrike is a wonderful example of brittle. The next letter is anxious. One of the troubles of the VUCA concept was that it did not take a look at people's feelings. It did not take them into account. This BANI concept does, and there's a good reason. The reason for that is that there's widespread fear and confusion and a feeling of being totally overwhelmed by the world. And the world we live in makes us feel worse and worse in spite of the welfare that we're enjoying, in spite of the welfare. And this is not only a case of Generation Z. Scientists say, psychologists say, we had a discussion in my company a week ago, and a psychologist of ours was presenting a study that the felicity curve, which was U-shaped, is not U-shaped anymore. What it meant, the U-shape meant that young people are very happy and elderly people are very happy, actually. And then, so that's why the U curve, right? They were saying, no, young people are not very happy anymore. They have feelings of anxiety when looking at social networks, fake news, impacts of AI, geopolitics, politicians simply saying, I like Greenland and it might become a country of mine. And if you don't give it to me, I'll take it. So all these things, climate change, right? I recall during a training, a female manager, a young one, that was telling us that when she was 9, she was below the table in the living room, really being scared that climate change will lead to the fact that she will die very soon, that she will burn, right? Look at this video, which is so real that if you didn't know it was a fake video, you would almost believe it. Look at it. I mean, that's crazy, isn't it? That's really crazy. And honestly, what really scares me and gives me this feeling of like anxiety and like anxious is that there's the BBC sign on the screen all the time. So of course this is funny, and you would probably come to the conclusion that this is a fake video, but some of the videos are getting so real that you can't distinguish them from the real ones, and this also gives people a feeling of anxiety. Another example of anxiety is this. I usually ask which are dolls and which are real humans, and people usually tell me there are two real humans, one in the middle in the second row and one in the first row. No, they're not humans. They're second generation of sex bots, which are better and cheaper. So these things just scare us. These things, apart from brittle, lead to feelings of anxiousness, these things. What about non-linear? Non-linear is a quality of the world which shows that one slight input may lead to over-proportional outputs. I'm going to mention a few things. One of these is something that you see here, right? Time to get the first 1 million users. Netflix, it was 3.5 years. We were surprised. We were saying it can't get better. Facebook, 10 months, Spotify, Instagram, iPhone, right? Then came ChatGPT and made it in 5 days. And we were saying it can't get better. It can't get more non-linear, right? DeepSeek made the first 1 million users in 5 hours. So this is not a linear connection, linear dependency. It is non-linear. And another, speaking of DeepSeek, another non-linear example is that when DeepSeek introduced that they don't need the expensive NVIDIA chips, that they use the usual, normal, ordinary chips to simulate and prepare the large language models, what actually happened was that within hours, the stocks of NVIDIA have lost something like 30% of their value within hours. This is also non-linear. What is also non-linear are the viral impacts on social networks, the virality of how messages are spreaded. So we have had brittle, we have had anxious, we covered non-linear, and let's take a look at incomprehensible. Look, there were always things that we as mankind did not understand, right? We didn't understand the lightning. We didn't understand how our brains work, but there were scientists who did. There were scientists who discovered that, and there were scientists who did understand. The trouble with our times is that not even the scientists understand certain phenomena today. I'll give you an example. This is a Chinese game of Go. You might have played it. It's very difficult because it's more complex than chess. The Go board is much bigger and it's more complex. And there was a challenge by AI to one of the masters of Asia, a gentleman from Korea, from South Korea, and he was beaten 6 times by AI. Which led to his, psychological breakdown. But the more important thing is that at a certain part of the game, AI made a step that none of the experts understood and thought that AI was just, making a mistake. But 16 steps further, they have understood how come this step was actually very, very good and led to the victory in the game. In certain games, it took the experts days to discover what was actually the trick. So this is the incomprehensibility of the world, that simply not only that we don't understand certain things and just laugh at them, like or actually they're too serious to laugh at. We don't understand things like, I like Greenland, I'll take it. But this is a different story. Since the age of enlightenment, we were used to understanding the link between input and output. In the age of AI and in the BANI world, which AI is part of, we are losing this immediate understanding of what AI is doing. There are systems predicting propensity to and not to pay your credit card debts. They're very complex and they work, but nobody understands them because they have so much input. Even things like, you know, what were your grades at school and how you drive your car, and companies are using them, but they don't understand the principles. They don't understand the connection between input and output. So this is the BANI world, and the year 2025 was a typical BANI year. Typical BANI year. It started in 24 with the US election, of course, the war going on, etc., etc. Many incomprehensible, brittle, anxious, and non-linear events. So this is BANI. Now let's get, because it's 11:30, let's get to the third part of the lecture, the third and last, before we get to the Q&As. We know how the world works, and we've taken a look at the case study. And we have seen it is different than what the world was before. It was different challenges and different time that we had to deal with the challenges. Then we took a look at the VUCA and BANI concept, and we discovered that not that the world would not be VUCA, but VUCA is probably not the best thing to describe the world that surrounds us today. And the best concept is BANI, right? Brittle, anxious, non-linear, and incomprehensible. So how to live in it, how to make good decisions, how to strive in this world. Now, the biggest challenge of the BANI world is to know what to do when you don't know what to do. And this is something that managers really struggle with. By the way, not only managers and business leaders, also, you know, ordinary people. And they say, well, I always knew what to do because there were things from the past I could take a look at. I could take an example. There were similarities to events in the past. But now it's not the case. So I don't know what to do, but I need to act. If we didn't need to act, it wouldn't be a problem because we would wait for clarity. If you don't know what to do, wait for information, wait for clarity. This is what my grandfather told me. The trouble with the BANI world is that if you wait for clarity, it will not come. If you wait for instructions, they will not come. If you wait for structures, they will not come. And you know this from your clients. Your clients are fully exposed to the BANI world, and you may not see it, but let's suppose that you would have a client like this pharmaceutical company that I was describing in the case study. So it's so busy with itself and with solving the challenges from the BANI world that it would have a difficulty to give you clear instructions what kind of people they need, what kind of leadership skills they need to train, what kind of job descriptions, etc., because they honestly don't know. They don't know what to do, but the trouble is that you have to act. So how to act, we could rephrase it. How to act in a world when you don't know how to act because you have to act. So this pharmaceutical company had no idea how to act, but they knew that they couldn't just, take vacation and come back in half a year. They knew they had to do something. So how can you make better or even better decisions in a world where you will not have clarity, because it's one of the features of the world that there is no clarity. So basically, lessons learned, business learnings from the case study that I was tackling and describing in part one is, and let me start with a third one. Clients discovered they need to go from efficiency, cost efficiency, or obsession with efficiency. They outsourced everything. They produce in China. It is cost efficient. But when something happens, there are no semiconductors. There are tariffs and things like that did not exist in the world that we knew and we grew up in. So you need to make a shift from efficiency to resilience, right? Resilience is a bit more expensive. You need to have redundancy, perhaps have two sites where you produce. Flexibility matters, and all this matters much more than cost cutting. So from efficiency to resilience. Let's get now to the first one. Clients need to understand that they need to go from control to adaptability. And this is a big shift, paradigm shift between the VUCA world and the BANI world. In the VUCA world, it was complex and difficult, I know, but it was still navigable. It was still somehow under control. It was navigable. The only thing that you can control in the BANI world is your reaction to an event. You cannot control the event as such because the events as such are unpredictable. So you need to learn adaptability, especially in times when you have access to no information and when you're facing things that you're facing for the first time. And the second point is, from prediction to experimentation, companies need to learn, and you can imagine, because you work with the same companies that we do, you can imagine how they struggle. They need to make a shift from prediction. They were obsessed with predicting the world. I mean, you can make a prediction perhaps for tomorrow how much you sell, but a prediction which is longer than a month is very, very difficult per se. So you need to start experimenting. You need to give space to intuition. And this is what the companies are struggling with, because intuition means, oh, I've never done that before. So these are the key learnings from the case study that we were looking at. There are also new skills needed. I love this picture actually, because we grew up as the caterpillar, and we need to evolve and learn new skills. And what are those new skills that we need and our clients need in this BANI world? Brittle, anxious, non-linear, and incomprehensible. I've written down the most important ones of them below, right? We already said we need resilience, not only personal resilience, but also business resilience, adaptability, obviously, flexibility. We need to learn a bit more, much more of empathy, because the rest can be delivered by machines, empathy not. Machines can fake empathy, but they are not truly empathetic. Psychological safety, which is an environment where you can admit that you don't know, you have made a mistake, you ask for help, you disagree. Not many clients have an atmosphere of psychological safety. Improvisation is critical. I'll be talking about it within a few seconds. Improvisation. We were not used to improvise because the world was known and the structures were known. All of a sudden, we're forced to improvise. Critical thinking is a feature where asking questions is more important than getting answers. So, and we were raised in a world where the wise men were those, or wise women were those who were giving answers. We need to make this paradigm shift that asking good questions, the power of asking good questions within critical thinking is much more important than getting answers. And a huge importance is attributed to diversity. I'll give you an example. We have two mobile operators, telecommunication companies, and one of them, both of them were facing the same challenge. Generation Z doesn't make that many calls. They send messages via social networks, right, like WhatsApp. So how to make them make more calls? That was the challenge. The first company had a large number of Gen Zs among the employees, and they very quickly said, look, just accept it. It's a fact. You won't change it. Accept it and try to get the money somewhere else. Try to get the money on data. Offer special packages for us, to access social networks and do cross-sells and upsells. The second company did not have that many Gen Zs, and they spent half a year trying and failing to make Gen Zs make more phone calls. And eventually they totally failed, and they came to the same conclusion. It is impossible. We need to accept it as a fact. So having this diversity, we know diversity usually in terms of gender and in terms of different backgrounds, cultural background. But what I'm talking about here especially is also age diversity, generations X, Y, and Z, right? Now let me focus on three things before we come to the Q&As. The first one is, what is the impact to your clients And how can you increase your competitiveness on helping your clients cope with the bunny world? That's the first thing I'd like to spend more time on. The second thing I'd like to spend more time on would be how to use the improvisation skills with your clients, right? And the third one is few hints on adaptability, where I see, and I'm not a preacher. I mean, who am I to? I'm not a preacher. I also make tons of mistakes, but where we all do mistakes when trying to be adaptable. Okay, so you and your client, what's the challenge? The challenge generally is that your clients are fully exposed to the BANI world, fully. So, and sometimes you have different clients. You have big corporations, and then you also have clients, private equity owned, you have startups, etc., who have grown up to bigger companies, but still they don't have the spirit of large corporations yet. And you expect perhaps clarity, you expect instructions, you expect job descriptions, you expect that they precisely know what they want, because this was how the world worked until quite recently, but they have no idea what they need. They are confused as you are. While working with them, you are secondhand exposed to the BANI world. You as a company are secondhand exposed to the BANI world because your client is fully exposed to the BANI world. So one of the key learnings is accept the chaos and embrace it, because there will never be order again, and you cannot wait for clear instructions, job descriptions, processes from your clients, because not only that your client structure is changing, you have many more private equity owned companies and startups, but at the same time your clients are fully exposed to the BANI world. And take a look again, take an example of the case study that I was showing to you at the beginning. The client is so puzzled that it has no idea what to ask you for, even if your client relationship is very good, right? There is an excellent video that summarizes this. You may remember a gentleman called I think he was called Donald Rumsfeld. He was the Pentagon boss, secretary, so basically responsible for U.S. defense during the Bush Senior administration. And he made this very interesting note that inspired me. Just listen at it for a moment, and then let's debrief a little. Let's reflect what meaning that has and what relevance that has when you think about collaborating with your clients.
Reports that say that something hasn't happened are always interesting to me, because as we know, there are known knowns. There are things we know. We also know there are known unknowns. That is to say, we know there are some things we do not know. But there are also unknown unknowns. The ones we don't know, we don't know.
I think he said one very smart thing that inspired me. Your clients, in many cases, are dealing with, they used to be dealing in the past with known knowns. I have a job description. I exactly know what kind of a person I need, and I'll talk to my preferred supplier, right? Headhunter. Then came the era of the known unknowns. So I know that there are things I don't know, but I need advice. And you say, well, from other clients, we may help. They're solving the issue like this and this and this, and there is some relevance from the past. There is some pattern from the past. The trouble with the BANI world is that we're increasingly dealing with the unknown unknowns. So your clients have no idea what's coming up. There are things that they don't know. And what does that mean for you? This means that if you use critical thinking, and if you strengthen client relationships and have the opportunity to ask questions, and wise questions, then you could actually help them solve their unknown unknowns by first making them aware of the unknowns and then providing a solution to the unknowns. This could help the clients, and basically it also could help you and get you additional competitive edge, because if you help your clients discover problems that they're not aware of or that they have not been aware of up to now, they will actually be tied to you, and the client relationship will strengthen. And of course, you would be an even more preferred supplier. But how do you do this apart from asking good questions, right? I have a friend, a rabbi, and this rabbi, he always amazes me by one or two questions which are so intelligent that really make me think. And instead of talking for hours, he just asks those two or one question which really just may lead to a solution. Now, how do you work with the unknowns with your clients when even not your clients are aware of the fact that they have problems? Now, you need to overcome a thing which I called a customer paradox. It has two parts. The first one is that we usually think to know, we're convinced that we know what the customer wants, but we don't ask him. We don't ask him. We just perfectly know what he wants, or what he should want, but we never ask him. And when we are confronted with the fact, but why don't you ask him? We say, well, because if we ask him what he wants, he usually says, well, I don't know what I want. So it's a vicious circle. We don't ask him because he doesn't know. So we somehow make our own idea of what he probably wants, but it may not be it. So how to break this vicious circle and help your client with the unknown unknowns? There's a concept which says, don't ask the customer what he wants, but ask him about his pain points. And when you ask him about the pain points, you discover the pain points, you may start offering solutions. There is a method which Steve Jobs used to develop the iPhone, and it's called design thinking. And design thinking, as you see, starts with a phase called empathize. In other words, you don't come to the client and tell him what you think he knows or what you thought, but you just talk to him, ask questions about, so what's the trouble? What worries you? What doesn't work? What bothers you? What could be better? And then you define the problem based on this empathize phase. This is precisely what Jobs did. If Jobs had asked the people what they want, they would have never said, we want an iPhone. But what Jobs did was to say, so what's your problem when accessing your emails and working with your calendar when you're outside of home? And the people said, well, I need to have the button phone in one pocket. In another pocket, I have a paper notebook where I keep my dates. And in the third pocket, I have the iPod. Remember the iPod, the music device, to listen to music. And Jobs said, brilliant. And he jumped to the second phase to define, and he said, is the problem that you need 3 different devices to cover your phone calls and music listening needs? And they said, oh, yes. And he said, brilliant. And then he started ideating, and he came up with a prototype of an iPhone, and he tested it. So you could use design thinking to help your clients uncover and become aware of the unknown unknowns, which are a product of the BANI world, and at the same time, help them find solutions. Now, the third thing I wanted to tackle very briefly is adaptability as a response to the unknown. Adaptability usually comes into the game when we are confronted with something totally new for the first time, like this. Look at this quote. It's from Albert Camus, my favorite author. And you've never seen a thing like that before. So what do? You start experimenting intuitively. You look at the text and say, well, in the first word, if I just switch the D and the O, it might be don't. Oh, probably it's switched letters. The second expression may be walk, because, switching the letters again. And you just, do try and fail. And you come to a text which says, don't walk behind me, I may not lead. Don't walk in front of me, I may not follow. Just walk beside me and be my friend. Now, what did you need to apply as adaptability? Were a few things, right? Where do we make the biggest mistakes? And let me cover them briefly at the end. The first big mistake is that we believe, well, this is discomfort and I don't like it. I mean, look at those workers. They have normalized discomfort. They got used to the fact the world is like this, period. So, how do you usually react when you're out of your comfort zone? That could be the question. The second thing is, what helps us is approaching the things the same way that we were learning to ride a bicycle by our parents. All right? Practice with a safety net. In other words, don't be obsessed that you make a mistake. This was the world before. We don't make mistakes. We are perfect. No. Now, when you're solving something for the first time, you have to make mistakes. So practice with a safety net, in quotes, of course, right? Experiment instead of waiting for clarity and be ready for mistakes. Don't be obsessed with the outcome. Sometimes we are obsessed, well, it needs to be this process. We had a training where we asked people to cut a cake into the biggest possible number of parts. And you know what they did? They took the knife and they cut it into the most possible number of parts, but still respecting the usual way how you cut a cake. But we didn't tell them how to cut the cake. They could have cut it also, they could have sliced it, and then they could have cut it, you know what I mean? And they would have obtained a much higher number of pieces, right? So these were some things I wanted to talk to you about at the end. Let me tell you that I find that we very often fight battles of the past because in a world where battles are fought like this, cyber and drones, we still are fighting sometimes battles like Leonidas, in the Persian War, Greco-Persian Wars, and just don't forget about clarity, right? Don't fight this battle of the past, because companies who fight battles of the past usually end up like this, like Kodak, right? It's a great paradox, but the digital camera was invented by Kodak actually, but it was not brought to the market because they were afraid it would cannibalize their business. Great. So this is the summary. The BANI world is there. Embrace it. Don't wait for clarity. Help your customers strive in it. And take a look at some of the new skills. Should you want to be in closer contact with me, here am I available.